I'm going to introduce Doug first before we get started, and then we will get going if you're ready, Doug.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, great. So Doug is one of the audit partners here at the firm. He's been with Smith Marion now for 8 years, almost 9. He graduated from Cal State San Bernardino and has his MSA. Doug's a licensed CPA, and he's a HUD audit expert, and he's also a peer review expert. So he's in charge at Smith Marion of making sure we have a smooth peer review and making sure that we're in compliance and that our peer review is successful. I have his email address, but I can put it in the chat, and his LinkedIn. That way we don't have to mess up the screen sharing. And Doug, enjoys playing video games with us. We have a Super Smash in the office, and I beat him all the time at video games. And he's always losing, and he's always very, very sad because I'm so good.
That's right. That's why you're not getting. That's why you're not getting that promotion.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be talking about success in the firm, and one of the things is you got to let your boss win stuff.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go ahead and get started, Doug.
Okay, great. Is my mic's good? Everything's clear?
Everything's clear.
All right, perfect. Okay. Hannah thank you for the introduction. My name is Doug Englehart. I've been working at Smith Marion for 8 years now. I do audits. I hardly touch taxes. I can barely even do my own taxes. It gets so complicated. So I'm in the auditing team. We do financial statement audits. We do compliance audits, all those kind of good things that you probably learned from Kendra yesterday. Yeah. So I've been at Smith Marion for 8 years. It'll be 9 years in June. I'm a partner at year 5 at Smith Marion, so that's pretty quick. I'm 33 years old. I'm 3 years into my buy-in, so I've been partner for the last 3 years. So I think this is a good topic for me to talk on. So hopefully I'm able to give you guys some insight. A lot of this stuff is going to be kind of self-evident. You know, if you're a successful person in life, if you're a go-getter, you shouldn't have a problem in a CPA firm. So hopefully I have some good tips for you, some stuff that might stick with you, going in the future. I'm not quite sure where you guys are at in your careers. I'm assuming you guys are all students still. So, okay.
We're all students, yeah.
Okay. So, click over here. Okay. So first off, we're going to talk about what's success. So I just kind of want to lay the grounds here because a lot of different people have different, views on what success is, whether it's work-life balance or you have your own personal kind of idea of what you think is success. So as far as this presentation is going, I'm going to kind of set okay, this is what we're talking about when I'm talking about success in a firm. So it's basically, you're becoming you're creating the most value for your firm, right? So to be successful, you've got to be creating value for the firm that you're working at, for your employer. As a result of building that value, you're going to move up the corporate ladder. So you're going to get pay raises. You're going to move up. You're going to get more responsibility. You're going to have higher status at the firm. You're going to have higher status with your clients as you build that value and that knowledge. And and you'll have, as you move up and you become more successful, you'll have a greater say in what the firm is doing, how the firm is doing things, and, your own work. So, if you're successful at what you're doing, you're going to have a huge say in what you're doing and how you're doing it. So as opposed to someone, that is lacking that success, they're going to have to follow the books. They're going to be told, this is what you need to be doing. So, success is what a lot of people are going for in this form. When you're working at a firm, you want to be independent. You want to be able to run a team. You want to be making good money, obviously. You want to be seen as one of the, the top dogs there. So when I talk about success, that's what I'm alluding to. So, all right. So you want to be successful. Well, it's going to start before you even start working at the firm, right? There's a lot of stuff that you have to have and you can get going before you land a job at a firm, right? So you got to have the accounting basics. That first topic there, basics you can learn while you're in school, right? Don't expect to come into an accounting firm and not know the accounting basics, right? You need to know your debits and your credits. You need to know how to use T accounts, right? And post journal entries. You got to know the accounting terminology. You have to know your assets. You have to know your liabilities. You have to know equity, revenues, expenses. You have to know how to post adjustments to make things go up and go down. You're going to have a really hard time starting an accounting firm if you don't know how to increase accounts receivable, if you don't know how to increase accounts payable and accrue expenses, right? Those are the basics. That's, if you come into an accounting firm and someone tells you to post an adjustment and you don't know how to post the basic AR increase, you're not going to have a good time. So you really need to be studying that stuff and make sure that you understand when you're in those accounting classes how to do those things, because all that stuff transfers. Clients aren't going to pay for someone at a CPA firm that doesn't know their debits and credits, right? And it's really, we're not going to take our time to teach you debits and credits. That's what you went to school for, right? So that's just the basic things. You'll be surprised at people that come into the firm that don't know basic accounting. So make sure you have a strong grasp. I'm not talking about, you know how to do consolidations and all of these kind of things. That some of the higher level, some of the accounting classes you might take in your MSA and stuff like that. We understand that that's just a brief, that's just a brief, quarter or however long semester that you guys are in those classes and learning that stuff. So you're at least getting the concepts of those higher level. But I mean, by the time you get to those classes, you should know your debits and credits, and so that stuff transfers. On top of that, you need basic software skills, right? You have to know how to use Excel. If you don't know how to do a sum on Excel, you're gonna have a rough time. If you, you know what I mean. If you don't know how to hide columns, if you don't know how to reformat data given to you, if you don't know how to do sorts, pivot tables, those kind of things, it's going to be detrimental. You're going to have to sit there and you're going to have to go through, a lot of YouTube videos, or you're going to have to find a friend that knows how to do that kind of stuff, and just sit there and learn how to use your keyboard and know all the shortcuts so you can do things quickly. Because if it takes you 3 hours to do something that someone that knows how to do Excel in 30 minutes, it's not going to look good, right? So, I mean, you don't have to be a wizard. You don't have to be a wizard at Excel, but you have to know the basics. Yeah, you have to know how to do that kind of stuff. Those people are invaluable. And people that don't know Excel, it's like, okay, well, that's where most of your work's going to be done, is in people's Excel schedules. You'll learn how to use QuickBooks or get into the client's accounting systems and pull things. So that can be learned, but Excel, you have to come with that. And Word too. You have to know how to format Word. You need to know how to, type up a letter. You need to know how to put headers and footers and page numbers and those basic kind of things on Word. And it's nothing, you can YouTube it really quickly and start figuring those things out. But like I said, if it takes you 2 hours to format a report or help me write a letter to one of my clients to put a header and all that kind of stuff on it, it's not going to be a good look, right? So the successful people, they have a moderate understanding of how to use Excel, how to use Word, and most recently Zoom, right? So these kind of technologies, these things that you use, you want to become the expert at those things. You want to be better than just the lame off the street person that's like, okay, well, how do I log into Zoom? How do I share my screen? Like, you should know how to do that stuff. you know, whether it's practice with a friend or practice with someone you work with already or family member, anyone, just practice, you know, learn how to make Zoom calls, learn how to do that stuff. If you know how to use these softwares and you're showing like, hey, I've used this software and I've become adequate enough to where I can use it without someone holding my hand, that shows a lot. That shows that you explore into those areas, right? And you try to become uh, an expert, try to become better than just the normal person, right? So those are basic software kind of things. Learn to work with a team. So if you're going to be auditing, you're going to be working with a team. You're not going to be able to do an audit all by yourself without having a manager or a senior or other associates take care of different sections. And so you're going to have to learn how to do teamwork. Hey, you know, ask people, hey, I need help with this. You know, from your experience, how do you fix this? It's not a solo thing, especially in the audits. So one of the funny stories is when I started to go into accounting, I was a big numbers person. I actually originally went to college for engineering. So I'm a numbers person. I thought, hey, I'm doing accounting because I'm a numbers person. I'm going to sit behind a desk and I'm going to crunch numbers. I'm really good at this debit and credit stuff. And I'm not really going to have to deal with people. And you learn really quickly that it's a team effort where, you know, you're not going to be stuck in a basement just crunching numbers or, you know, kind of how like you think of like the coders, you know, computer coders and that stuff. They're just, you know, hacking the matrix all by themselves. That's not this job. You're gonna be working in teams. You gotta learn how to communicate. You gotta learn how to pick up a phone. You have to learn how to, you know, instant message, send emails, all those kind of things. Whether it's with your team or whether it's with the client, it's a team sport. Everyone has to work together to get these huge engagements done. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of hours that go into this job, and you just can't do it by yourself. So you have to learn how to work in a team. So take advantage when you guys work in group projects. You know, take advantage of that. Learn what it's like to work with people and you know, how to become the leader in the team and get things done. You know, sometimes, you know, you might have a strong person, but you can't let a strong person continually be the leader on group projects. You need experience to learn how to be the leader too, because there'll be a point in your life when you're working in the industry where you need to take the lead. Not everyone's going to want to take the lead, and you may have, you know, some good stuff to offer over someone else that's trying to take the lead. So take advantage of those group projects. Learn how to be a good lead. Learn how to be, you know, a good second person in command. Those kind of things. Learn how to deal with, you know, the person that's not contributing. See if you can effectively get them to contribute more than what they're doing. Those are good, strong leadership skills that you can learn. Maybe you can turn someone that's not effective. Maybe they have a certain skill that they are effective at, and you're just not giving them, you know, the right work. Those kind of, and you're just working in a group project for school, so it's, you know, it's not as stressful as when you're actually, you know, billing clients thousands of dollars and you're trying to get this work done. So it'll give you some experience in that area. So take advantage of that, and then learn in situations at your current job, right? So if you're working at doing some sort of customer service or things like that, make sure that if there's teamwork involved, you know, jump in, you know, try to be an effective member of the team, try to be a leader. So it's the same kind of thing on that point. All right, so next is how do you dress, how do you present yourself? So these are very important things. These are the things that I think were covered in maybe another presentation yesterday. You're talking about, you know, building your brand, your personal brand, right? So these things kind of go along with building that brand. So they're very important, especially, you know, if you're trying to find a job or if it's your, you know, your first year on a job, and then after first year, trying to build your career, you know, trying to make good impressions, trying to show people that you are that go-to person, right? And so, and this one is mainly for the guys. For, I seldom see a woman in the professional work environment that isn't well dressed. This is for the guys, and especially for the guys that work maybe in like a more laxed work environment where they, it's casual dress, so they don't care if you come in your flip flops and those kind of things. Um, so it's mainly for the guys. Learn how to dress. Learn. You got to know your pant size. You got to know your shirt size. You got to make sure your clothes fit you. Um, if you're allowed to wear flip flops to the office, maybe that's not the impression that you want to make. If you're allowed to wear Jordans or Air Force Ones, maybe that's not the impression that you want to make. Maybe you want to set yourself, stand out. And same thing in class. I know you want to go comfortable to class, and right now you have the whole Zoom meetings kind of stuff, but you can think back to when you were actually going to class or going to college classes, and a lot of people were just wearing their pajamas or things like that. And so, when you do that kind of stuff, you're building habits. You're building those kind of things. I would say, if you want to be successful, you don't really want to present yourself, especially in a business environment like that. Now, I'm not saying that you want to wear a tuxedo to your classes, but I would say, go to Banana Republic, go, get you some comfortable khakis, get you a comfortable sweater, some comfortable shirts, things like that, and start practicing wearing that kind of stuff and just being used to, dressing a little bit above, the standard. That stuff stands out. Communication, how well do you communicate? Do you sound professional when you talk, or do you use a lot of, slang? I mean, in a professional work environment, obviously a lot of people are going to be on their P's and Q's to start off with, and then it'll get us a little more relaxed. But I would say, if you're building your brand, you want to write professional emails, you want to write effective instant messages, those kind of things. You want to be well spoken, so make sure you read, make sure you stay on top of those kind of things so that you're able to communicate effectively within and without and outside the work environment. What's your work ethic like? Right, very, very important, especially in a CPA firm. What's your work ethic like? If you want to succeed and you want to move up the corporate ladder, just going in, strictly a 9 to 5, that's, for other jobs that might work very well, but for this job, in order to move up the ladder, you're going to have a really good work ethic. You're going to have to get projects done on top of projects, and if you're only coming in from 9 to 5, some fire might happen where you have to stay late and work over the weekends, and you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to put in those extra hours. If you're not doing that, the people that are going to pass you. So you want to be one of those people that has a strong work ethic, gets things done when they say they're going to get things done, doesn't make false promises. Are you goal oriented? Very important to be goal oriented. You can't just be floating through life and not have a plan that you're trying to execute, that you're trying to get to. You should always have something that you're working towards and have steps to get there. And that's just in general in life. And in a firm, if you don't have goals and plans and you're not showing that you're moving towards those, it's pretty easy to see. Like CPA exam, you want to pass a CPA exam, right? Hopefully you have that goal. Well, I'm going to ask you, what's the plan? Do you have your timeline? Is that outlined? Do you have your study schedule? Do you have all that kind of stuff? Because if you say no, I want to pass the CPA exam, and I don't hear any of those things, then I don't think you're taking that goal very seriously, right? You're not taking it seriously. You should have the plan outlined. You should have steps to move towards that plan. There are a lot of good books out there on how to execute on your goals. So you should be using those resources. Are you organized? Organization is very important. And that shows kind of in the way that you present yourself, the way that you dress. Or if I look at your desk, or you come into my office, or I go into your office, are there papers all over the place? Are your emails, stuck in the right categories? Those kind of things. An organized person is going to be able to accomplish a whole lot more than a disorganized person, unless you're a savant and you can remember where every single piece of paper is on your desk and all those kind of things. You have to be organized. You have to write things down. You have to set schedules, and you have to stick to them, or move things around. Being organized is a very important thing in a CPA firm. So next, you want to get real world experience. So if you are just going to school and you're not working and paying college off at the same time, or those kind of things, I mean, hopefully you're not just taking 4 classes or 3 classes and you're a full-time student. That doesn't make a very good work ethic. If you're not doing full-time school worth of classes and probably overloading, I would say you should have a job. You should be out there getting real-world experience. You should be building that work ethic to say, okay, well, I go to school from 1 to 2, and then from 3 to 6 or 7 or whatever, I'm working. I'm getting real-world experience. I'm learning how to deal with customers. I'm learning how to deal with a boss. I'm learning how to deal with coworkers, those kind of things. You need to get that experience, because if your first real-world work experience is in a CPA firm, you're not going to know what to expect. You're not going to know. You're not going to have dealt with any of the hardships of having maybe a tough boss or a lackadaisical boss that doesn't stay on top of things, and then you have to stay on top of things for them and those kind of things. So very important to get real world work experience. I've noticed that a lot of the people that come and work out very well in CPA firms either have work experience that they've done while they're putting themselves through school, or they're older. They have that experience of prior to going back to school, and they understand, when you work in an office, there's the respect for your boss and your customers, and they've learned those kind of things. So it's really a good idea to get real world work experience. And then finally, that's kind of general one, but I would say figure out where do you want to work? What city, what state, what kind of firm do you want to work with? Do you want to be at the beach, or do you want to be in the country, or do you want to be in the desert? This is a perfect opportunity before you get into a CPA firm to figure out, hey, what's my lifestyle looking like? And that's the kind of firms that you want to go after. If you want a firm by the beach, you want to decide that, because that's the lifestyle that you want, and it's going to lead to more success because you're striving to be successful in the place where you want to live. So it's a good idea to figure out where you want to live, what state, make sure that's going to make you happy, because that will help with your success. And then what kind of firm do you want to work with? Do you want to work with a super huge firm where you have millions and $1 million are coming through, and when you're dealing with clients, you're talking to a $100 million revenue client? And the time frames when you work there, because a lot of the time frames at bigger firms are longer, so you won't expect to be partner until you're 10, 12, 13, maybe longer. You're going to have a lot of resources. You're going to have a lot of people to work with. You're going to have a lot of competition. You want to work with a smaller firm where there could be blockers in the way at the smaller firm, but you work directly with the partner. Where you work, you're going to get a higher caseload, because you don't have a whole lot. You don't have a 300-person firm that's going to be able to handle any fire coming through. You're going to be working at a 10-person, 5-person, 3-person firm, a sole proprietor, and you're going to be their go-to person. You're going to learn a lot, but you're going to have a whole lot of responsibilities really quickly. So you have to kind of start getting an idea on that. So jumping into year one. So again, you want to take that brand that you're building before working at the firm, that work ethic, being able to dress well, being well spoken. You want to take that brand and you want to bring it into the office, right? And you want to build that. And so you want to let people know that's your brand. You know, Doug is always well dressed. Doug is always well spoken. Doug gets his things done on time. Those kind of things. It is very important because if you start off on the wrong foot or you just don't care about building your brand, it shows. It shows to other people. To be successful, you want to be that person with a strong brand. You want to be the Apple at the firm, those kind of things. So I've already talked about building a brand a whole lot, but it's very important that you build that when you come into the firm so that people know what they're getting when they're dealing with you, and you want that to be the best possible so that people are like, I want to work with that guy. I want that guy on my team. I want her on my team. She kills it. She's well dressed. She talks to the clients very well, those kind of things. So make sure that you're continue to build on that brand when you come into the office. Show up on time. Showing up on time, very important. And stay late. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to stay late every day, but if you want to stay late every day, if you have things to work on every day, stay late. It's recognized. We see the person that comes in on time and clocks out at 5 o'clock. Nothing against that, but we're talking about elevating your value in the firm. And so that year one, that comes with experience. So the longer you're in that office, the more stuff you're working on, the more projects you're getting done, the more stuff you see, you're building that value. So if you're staying for an extra 2 hours a day, or you're staying for an extra 8 hours, if it's not required by the firm, it's on a firm by firm basis, but some firms make you work, 60 hours a week. Some firms might only make you work 40 hours, but if you're only working 40 hours, are you staying an extra 8 hours just to get more experience? People see that. If I ask you to get a project done by Friday and you spend the night, extra 2 hours for 2 nights and get it done on Wednesday, that stands out. That stuff stands out. So, and you're only going to be able to get that done if you're either staying late or you're coming in early. And so that's not necessarily on there, but a lot of people, they can't stay late, so they'll come in early. They'll get up at 5, get dressed, and come into the office and be in the office by 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, so they get an extra hour. So that'll help build experience. Be the best dressed. So, if you work in a firm where everyone's wearing sandals, it's probably not a good idea to come in a tuxedo. So I'll use that as an example. Look around the firm and get an idea of how everyone else is dressing and try to dress a little better than that, right? If everyone's wearing jeans and t-shirt, then maybe, like I said, you wear khakis and a nice V shirt or whatever. And this is for the guys. For the women, it's a rare case that I see a woman not dressed, better than 90% of the guys in the office. So they do a very good job. But guys, you have to look and absorb. Like I said, don't wear a tuxedo if everyone's wearing jeans and sandals. But you definitely want to step it up and so you stand out, right? You stand out. You're not the guy that's wearing shorts and flip flops all the time to the office. You have to be the person that the client wants to talk to, right? So you have to learn how to put on. You have to learn how to deal with clients, how to make them happy, how to speak to them, how to build rapport with them, right? A lot of people that I know that fall into they do strictly business with the client, right? Just strictly business. Hey, I need this schedule. Hey, I need this done by this date. Hey, I'm going to get you this report. And that's all their communication with the client is those kind of things, as opposed to other people that really build those relationships with their clients. Are, hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? Remembering their kids' names, remembering if they have pets, talking, spending a little extra time talking to them about those kind of things really stands out to the clients, to where they like dealing with you and they want to deal with you, and they're going to pick you over whoever else that they've had to deal with in the past, or any other people. They're going to say, hey, I don't, hey, Doug, can you send Rob back out here? Or listen, can you send Josh back out here? I really liked working with Josh. That's what you're looking for. You have to build those. If you're just strictly business, and if you go to the clients and you sit on your computer the entire time testing, yes, you have to get the testing done. But guess what? You get what you need from the client, and then you can go test back in the office at night, or you can go in your hotel room if you're traveling. You can go take care of that stuff, some of that stuff later. You can spend that time while you're with the client, talking to the client, figuring out how they tick, figuring out what their concerns are, providing that value and building that relationship, so that when it comes time for them to bid, or when your contract is over and they have to go look for, you have to get 5 bids from 5 different companies, you stand out. They know you. They know that you care. They know you're willing to go the extra mile for them, and they've built a relationship with you. And that stands out from the people that are just strictly, like I said, 9 to 5. I'm just going to do my work. I'm not going to talk to anybody. This will help you build value and become more successful for sure. And that goes alongside with the next one is, be the person that people want on their team, right? People aren't going to want someone that's not doing well on their team. If you do the bare minimum, that's cool. They'll take you because that'll lighten the burden on them. But you're not going to be their first choice. If you're the person that goes above and beyond, takes on more work than they're assigned, you're always trying to look for extra stuff. If you're just killing it, you're going to be that person that they want on their team. Because you're showing value, and they're going to pick you and they're going to select you, and that's going to continue throughout your career. If you're doing those kind of things, you got to set it in your head that this is the kind of person that I want to be, and how do I become that kind of person? So you got to look for reasons to go above and beyond, and surpass those expectations. Important one, next one, be trainable. You have to be trainable. If we're dumping resources, time and all these things into you, you have to be trainable. I have to be able to explain something to you 1 or 2 times, and then you got it. If it takes 5, 6 times to explain the same thing, in the first or second time, we should have had a good discussion to where we both feel like you understand what it is that we're talking about and that you can execute. So people come in, and when it's training time, they just kind of turn off their brains, and they just go deer in the headlights, and they just Doug, I understand, and they don't. And so that's a huge waste of time for me to have to retrain something that you told me that we sufficiently covered. So you have to be trainable. Come with a notepad. When it's time to go over review notes, or when it's time to learn something new, come with a notepad. Make sure you're writing stuff down, not word for word, but things that are going to key and trigger you. And hopefully, like I said, it's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard your first year in a CPA firm, because you're going to learn so much stuff that you didn't know, and you're going to have to retain. You're going to be expected to retain a lot of that stuff, and we understand that it's a lot. And so, if it takes 2 times of me explaining the same thing, I understand that. I mean, I was in your shoes at one time, so I understand that. But when you're showing that you're not trainable, and it's like, geez, how many times do I have to show this person, how to fill in this particular schedule, that's not a good look, right? So you want to make sure that you're asking your questions and that you're getting a firm grasp on the concepts that are being explained. So the best team member for me when I'm training is I teach them once and they know and they're off and running, right? And you just got to put yourselves in the shoes of, like, say you were the boss, right? And that you had something that you had to train someone on. You want them to get it the first time and for them to ask questions and develop that understanding the first time. You do not want to have to go back and show that person how to do something 5 times, right? It's common sense. So you have to be trainable. So you have to make an effort to retain and understand, right? You got to have a good attitude, right? You're going to get feedback, and in your first year, it's going to be a lot of feedback of, hey, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. This is the way that this should be prepared. And you have to be able to take that feedback positively and say, okay, I understand. Now, this is kind of like, this is going to allow me to be a better auditor. This is going to allow me to be a better team member. This is going to allow me to be better at my job, is this feedback, because I don't know. And I'm coming at the table like as if I don't know, and I need you to teach me so that I can become this expert, so that I can understand. And when I'm talking to my clients, I can, sound knowledgeable, right? It all comes through feedback, training and feedback. Feedback is an important part of training. So you have to come with a good attitude and just off the bat say, okay, I know I'm a college student. I know I've done my core. I know my debits and my credits and that kind of stuff. I'm confident in that, but I understand they didn't teach me how to be an auditor. They didn't teach me how to be a professional, right? So you got to have a good attitude. You're more likely to get better results from your team members if you're smiling, if you're happy, you say hi, if you're able to take feedback constructively and jump on it. So that just life advice in general is you have to have a good attitude about it. We don't want to be working with someone that's constantly negative. Ask questions. So there's nothing scarier than a first-year associate that doesn't ask any questions. They just sit there, you tell them what to do, and for the next 8 hours, you don't hear anything from them. That's really scary, because they don't know what they're doing, and they're just chugging away, trying to accomplish the task. But we realize that these tasks, you should have questions. You should be trying to develop your understanding. We don't want questions like you all had the person in class that would raise their hand and ask a question, and everyone in the class would roll their eyes because obviously they weren't listening to anything that the professor was talking about, right? So there is a difference between a good question and a bad question, and you guys all know the difference between a good question and a bad question. Bad question is always, you weren't paying attention when we were covering this, and you didn't make an effort to, on your own, understand this, right? You're just relying on me to give you all the answers, right? Versus a good question is, good question is always one that comes from being thoughtful to say, hey, I understand this particular thing that you were teaching me. I understand it. However, conceptually, you try to work out the solution in your own head. And so you're coming with me with maybe your own possible solution or some sort of idea on what the answer is, right? You're not just hitting me up for questions that you didn't think about beforehand, right? So you want those to be thought out and go over them in your own head and try to figure out, do I possibly know the solution to this based off of the resources that I have, right? So those are always, I love questions where it's like, hey, Doug, I need help with this. I think this is the way that it should be done because of this, but, can you, move me in the right direction, right? Those are good questions. those are the ones that I appreciate. And that's where I know that you're putting thought into them. So, and you're not just wasting my time by not listening and then asking some crazy question that you should know the answer to. Communicate when your tasks are completed. So communicate when your tasks are completed. You shouldn't just be sitting. I mean, you can't just sit there and have something done and then not let anyone know that you're. And this is something that I find all the time people doing is they're not letting the team lead know when they're done with stuff, and so that the next step can happen. Right? It's just Doug told me to do this, and I took care of it, and now I sit here. Like, yeah, that's not a good idea. So that was pretty self-explanatory. You want to communicate when you're done with what you're supposed to do. Communication is key. You have to learn how to find information and solutions on your own. Obviously, we're going to be training you and whatever firm you're working at, they're going to give you the basics, right? So when you do have those questions, try to learn what the person that's answering your questions, where are they getting that information from? Is there a particular place that, hey, I could have just went and looked this up myself? Or is it something that, hey, there's no place you're going to find the answer to this. It's just an industry knowledge that you're going to gain from experience, right? Maybe you want to add those to your questions because, yeah, you could be asking questions and trying to learn something that there's a whole book on it, right? And you just never knew. So, but you never tried to go get that resource, or maybe it was told to you that, hey, this is where you go get this stuff, and then you just don't use it. So it's very important for your own success in life. Also, success with any professional is that you search for the solutions. You go above and beyond. You're not just asking for handouts. And then finally, this is pretty important for your energy levels, to maintain your energy levels, because a lot of, though this job is a lot of sitting down and behind a computer screen, it's a lot of mental exercise. You burn a lot of mental calories. You go home exhausted working for a CPA firm. So it's important to keep your energy levels up. If you don't take care of these things, you're going to find that your energy levels fall, and you're not going to want to stay late. You're not going to be as on fire when you're doing your work, right? So you want to make sure that you're exercising once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. Some sort of going for walks, some sort of exercise beyond just sitting in an office for 10 hours a day and then going home and sitting on the couch, right? It's not going to help you with your energy levels, and you need those energy levels to be on fire. When you're talking to clients, you don't want to sound burnt out on the phone. When you're trying to work with team members, you don't want to sound burnt out. You want to sound like you got the energy. You want to sound like you're ready to go get it, right? And these things are going to help you. You got to exercise. You got to eat healthy. You don't eat pizza and beer every single day. You can do it a couple times a week if you want, but it's going to affect your energy levels if you're doing that. You want to eat some vegetables, and this is just basic stuff, guys. But I'm telling you, it's going to be helpful. It's going to help you with your energy levels, and you'll notice a difference if you're doing this or if you're not doing this. As far as the quality of work that you're doing, the attitude that you have, they're pretty important. So, and then get enough sleep, right? You don't want to go to sleep at 2:00 in the morning and then have to wake up and be at work at 8. You're not going to be functioning very well in the office doing that. Going to bed by 11 o'clock is completely fine, right? So just make sure you're getting enough sleep, because you have to be mentally focused and on your game when you step into the office if you want to succeed, right? This is all leading towards success. Okay, and then finally, looking forward for a few years for you guys, but after year 1, there's some things that you can continue to do. There's some things that you're going to start developing after that initial year 1 shock of, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing, and it's just constant training and all that kind of stuff, right? when you get beyond that and you start saying, okay, I understand what I'm doing now. I have a moderate understanding. I'm able to accomplish things. I'm becoming a resource to the firm, right? A lot of the resources initially during your first year get put into you, right? You're kind of operating at a deficit if you look at it from a business standpoint. We spend a lot of our time training you. We spend money on getting you all the resources, having you set up on our software systems, having you a computer, all those kind of things. And really, we can't build a whole lot for the work that you're doing until you get it, right? You can learn little things and kind of contribute, but we're paying your salaries, we're paying your benefits, all these kind of things. And you're kind of operating at a deficit, but it's an investment. We understand it's an investment. We're investing in you. We're trying to train you so that you can go out there and we can bill our clients the appropriate fee for the level of service that you're able to provide. So when you get past year one, that's where you're starting to, catch some ground. You're starting to be able to run. You're not walking anymore. You're able to run. You're able to perform, right? And you just want to boost that, right? You want to take that value and you want to boost that. So year one is you working a lot to try to gain that experience. Year two is you working a lot to try to crank out and provide that value to your firm, provide that value to your clients, right? If they need something done by Monday, you're working over the weekend because you're providing that value. You know how to do it, and you're willing to put in the extra hours to get that done for the client, right? So some of the tips are at the firm that you go to, try to find that person that you look up to. It's going to take a while, and after year one, you should have a pretty good idea of who has a good brand, who gets their stuff done, who's well dressed, who's well spoken, who do people look up to. Find that person and study them. Watch what they do, talk to them, take them out for drinks, those kind of things. There's a reason why you notice them, and there's certain things that they're probably doing that you wouldn't have thought of yourself. So, and it could be a person at the firm. Hopefully it's a person at the firm. If it's another person, you're building your network maybe, and you know people at other firms, and maybe there's some sort of manager at another firm that you really look up to because you know that guy's great, or she's just killing it. She's getting so many clients, right? Go talk to that person and study them. Try to figure out what things are they doing that you can incorporate into your routine and become habits, right? Build on your weaknesses and focus on your strengths. So this is one of the things that I personally believe in is that, your weaknesses are your weaknesses. It's kind of ingrained in you, but you can do certain things that take something that was an F, right? You might have certain weaknesses that are F. You want to bring those up to a C at least, right? They don't have to be A plus. They don't have to be your strongest thing, right? But if you have something that's an F, let's say you don't talk well to clients on the phone, you're scared and you get anxiety, and you're very awkward, right? That's your F. You're just not great at it, right? You want to bring that up to a C, right? You can't operate as an F in that category. You have to try to work on that to bring it to a C. It doesn't need to be your strongest point, but it can't be an F, right? And then your strengths. Your strengths are going to be your A pluses, and that's what you want to focus on providing, right? You want to build those. It's not going to take a whole lot to make your strengths even stronger, but you want to make sure you're playing to your strengths. You're really good at Excel. You're really good at the accounting behind things. That's what you want to play to, right? Those are the projects you want to take on. That's where you want to set yourself up to succeed and show that you're valuable. You want to show your strengths and why they make a difference, right? So make sure your weaknesses aren't an F, but play off of your strengths. Make sure that's where you're trying to lead yourself as far as the work that you're doing. Read books. There's a lot of great books out there on leadership, especially on leadership. But there's a lot of great books out there on building yourself up, self-improvement, read 10 pages a night, read a chapter a week, something like that. Just get those ideas and learn stuff from people that know this stuff. And you're going to come up with a lot of things that you didn't think about initially. You didn't think about this stuff, and hopefully from every book that you read, you take one little thing, at least one little thing from every book, and that'll start building. A lot of successful people that I know, they read. They're readers. They're constantly reading. They're constantly learning, and they take the stuff, and even like I say, even if it's just one thing, they're implementing it and they're building. If say they read 10 books and they got 10 little things, well, that's 10 things they wouldn't have had if they didn't take the time to go read at all. So try to read. Provide upward feedback. So this is another important one, and I say respectfully, but when you think about feedback, you think downward feedback a lot, from the boss to the employee, right? But it's important that you provide feedback back to your boss as well, so so that they know what you need, right? If you're struggling with anything in particular, if you're getting work that you don't feel it can be your best work, you need to be communicating that with your boss. You shouldn't just be sitting back and waiting for the boss to give you feedback on how bad you did on these particular things. You should discuss with him and say, maybe this is not my strong suit. Is there something else that I can do? Or, hey, what things do you think I could be doing to get better at this particular thing, right? There's upward feedback. Hey, I'd really love some resources because I don't feel comfortable with this particular subject, right? So you don't want to just be quiet when it comes to your career and your success. You want to be providing that feedback so that your team leaders and your supervisors, they know where you're at and what you need, so they can get you those resources to be successful. Because we want you to succeed as much as you do. There's no reason why we would want you to fail at all. Absolutely not. We want to get you what you need to be successful. Become an expert. That comes from experience. That comes from hours. You have to put them in. You'll become an expert. You'll start learning things that typical people don't know. And if you're putting in the hours and you're putting in the extra effort, you'll become an expert. You'll understand things before the person that started at the same time as you did, right? That's pretty impressive. When I have two people side by side, and one is becoming the expert without a doubt, and the other person is just getting by on the basics, that stands out. That's easy to see, right? And that's because they're putting in the time, they're doing their research, they're trying to understand and do their best, they're asking good questions. So you definitely want to be becoming the expert at your job. Have a reliable and established brand, right? After year one, you should have a brand. People should know you for what you do. They could say, like, they're reliable, they get stuff done on time, they're always willing to go above and beyond, they're well dressed, they're well spoken, the clients love them, team members love them. That's going to contribute to your success, 100%, right? And this is more just a general, but as you become the expert and your knowledge grows, you want to volunteer to be taking leads on things. You want to look for opportunities and take them. If the opportunity shows itself, you want to be the first person jumping on that opportunity. Whether that opportunity is to be a lead on a job, to run a job, whether the opportunity is go take care of this particular client, you are looking for those opportunities and to show your value. Training other people. You can't become the expert unless you're able to train other people. That's going to build your knowledge so far beyond, because they're going to ask you questions, and if you're able to answer those questions, it's going to build your own knowledge, right? You can know something, but until you get tested on it, it's going to take you to a whole different level. When you have take the effort to start training people and start teaching them, they're going to test your knowledge, and you're going to have to go research and figure it out, and it's going to just really ingrain that stuff into your brain. And so that's a really fast way to become an expert. is to start training people in that particular area. And then you want to lead by example, right? You can't expect people to stay late if you're gone at 3 o'clock every day. You can't expect people to get things done for the client on time if you're always missing deadlines. It's just simple. You want to lead by example. And so the firm's going to pick their leaders based off of the person's brand. Like I said, you're showing up on time, you're staying late, you're getting stuff done, you have a good attitude, all these kind of things. Guess what? You're a good leader, and we know that. And we want to build on that, and we want to give you those responsibilities, and we want to say, hey, Drake is great. Drake has all the attributes that we want in the firm, and guess what? We're going to move him up because we want him to be the example for everybody else, right? So that's that last one. So we're getting close to the end. I'll make this one quick. I didn't know I'd be able to talk for a whole hour on just 3 slides, but apparently I could talk a whole lot. So if anything, if you don't remember anything from this presentation, this is my go-to. This is what I've used. This has helped me become partner in the 5 years. It took me 5 years to become partner, and I learned this from another guy. He told me this when I started at the firm, and I set it up as my motto, and he's doing great, I'm doing great. So you guys, just, if anything, pay attention to this is, to be invaluable at a firm, right? It should be your sole mission to aggressively take work off the plate of your supervisor, right? Aggressively go after opportunity, aggressively try to take those tasks off of whoever's task they would be, if you didn't take them over. Supervisors, partners, it's going to just be invaluable. You got to make yourself invaluable. You got to be irreplaceable, right? The person that is able to take more stuff off of their supervisor's plates, they're going to go far. Always look for opportunities to say, hey, I notice you're doing this. I can do that for you. I'll take care of it for you. It'll be done by tomorrow. Is there more stuff that I can do? I know that we have to go do this job next week. I'm going to go in and I'm going to take care of all this stuff on top of doing whatever else I'm doing, right? You're aggressively trying to take stuff, learning how to do new things so that you can take that stuff off of their plate, right? And this is going to help your success, undoubtedly, right? Because think about it. How valuable are you to somebody, to your boss, if there's something that's due on Monday, right? And it pops up on Friday that, hey, this needs to get done by Monday, right? And it's Friday, 5 o'clock, everyone's leaving the office, right? And that pops up and your boss tells you, oh, I have to prepare this report by Monday. So, and they're probably going to tell you, but you will know your boss, and they have a soccer game for their kids that on Saturday. But guess what? They will be spending 12 hours, 16 hours on doing this report. They might miss that soccer game. Maybe it's they have to travel to go take care of some meeting, right? Something like that. Where if you're able to do that, if you built the trust and you've shown the ability to be able to handle that kind of stuff, and you're just taking it off of their plate, that's invaluable to that person. They're gonna look at you as you're their person. Amy volunteered. She heard me complaining about taking care of this report over the weekend, and she volunteered. She said she'll come in on Saturday and take care of all of this stuff for me, and I trust her because I know she does a good job. She has a good brand. She kills it, and she took care of that stuff for me. You're putting money in the bank. You're putting money in the bank, and that stuff adds up, and that will contribute to your success in the firm. So, other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you so much. We have just a couple minutes. Can they give you any questions that they have?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, if you guys have any questions, we have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions.
At what year did you find yourself like definitely doing auditing? Because like it's awesome that you definitely found an act for it. Because I was like, I'm also curious because did you ever think of like forensic accounting? Because correct me if I'm wrong, that's like a branch off of auditing itself. But I was just asking, like, what year did you find yourself like definitely into auditing?
That's a good question. So it depends on the firm. Our firm, when I got hired, strictly audit. I didn't have a choice. I didn't go, do both. I didn't do tax and audit or any of that kind of stuff. So I just got thrown into audit and I loved it.
Mm,
And I haven't really looked back. I mean, I've done some tax returns in my early years when they were needed, but I there was no the firm our firm isn't one of those mega top four firms where you're going to be thrown into different things and then you ultimately decide this is what I like to do. Now there is opportunity if you start off on one side at our firm, you can definitely learn the skills and get cross training on the other side, but I've never had to go through that. And then if you
mm,
start talking about forensic accounting, that's very niche. That's going to be a very small percentage of the total auditing and tax and accounting work out there. So you're going to have to
mm.
find a big firm, or you're going to have to find a particular firm that specializes in that,
Yeah.
right?
And let's do one more question.
So, kind of as a follow up to Drake's question, yeah, you were positioned in the company to do audit,
Right.
but while you were a student, was there any certain situation that convinced you, hey, I want to do this, or were you hired and then it was just how you were progressed?
Okay. Yeah. At the time that I got hired, it was 2011, 2012. And the market, if you remember the market at that time, it was very difficult to find a job. Very difficult. Um, I had interviews with different CPA firms, and they weren't hiring very many people. Maybe one or two people, if we're lucky, would get hired by a firm. At least have like VLS and VTD back in the day. And from Cal State, you might get lucky to be one of the one or two people chosen to work there, right? So it was very important to go to like the meet the firms nights and stuff and see what's out there. There were no CLAs, there were no Ed Baileys, there was no hiring 50 people at once kind of thing where they're going through all Southern California schools and picking 5 people from each school. There was none of that. It was a very tough marketplace. So I actually had a personal connection with someone at the firm. So I interviewed just off a whim because I was thinking more of a bigger firm to start off with because I always my eye was always on, okay, CPA is gold standard, right? CPA is top person. They're going to be the highest status. They're going to be making the most money. They have the most responsibility. They're going to be the leaders, right? And that was my gold standard, and that's what I wanted to be, right? And when you get your CPA license, it's very important for you to have your CPA license if you're an auditor, if you're doing financial stuff. As far as taxes go, you know, unless you're doing like advisory and different kind of stuff like that, like an EA is fine for a tax person. You're going to learn everything that you need to know to be a tax person with the EA. So I want to be a CPA, and I know that means, I have to know financial stuff, I have to know auditing, I have to know all this kind of stuff. And I thought that was really cool. And so I always went after the gold standard. So I'm happy where I'm at. There's so much opportunity, and you become valuable so fast to these clients that I'm very happy about it. So I know that I wish that the firm that I work at is not one of these CLA big four firms, right? And so you guys ask those kind of questions, And it's like, okay, well, I had never had that experience, so I'm sorry I can't answer that to the best ability. But I try to give my own experience.
Well, thank you so much, Doug. This was a really good presentation. Everybody, we're going to do a 15-minute break, and it's a little less than 15 because at 10:45 you're going to come back and we're going to be doing the Q&A, and that's when you get to talk to the rest of the principals and ask them all the questions that you've been writing down over the past 2 days. So you guys can stay on or you can take your break, but just be sure to be back at 10:45.
No pressure.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, guys.